Welcome to Joe's Astrology, and I'm talking about marriage in this video and how to find out what potential partners you might have, how many partners, what your marriage would be like, what some of the challenges are. We can look at all this in astrology, specifically looking at your natal chart, looking at your partner's natal chart, looking at the history, some history if we have it of your life. Contact me if you'd like to do that through an astrology reading. That's the best way to do this. But in this video, I'm just going to take you through some of the things that I've learned and seen that work well in finding out this information. You can look at Angelina Jolie here. She is a Cancer rising, and I do have her chart analysis in my playlist if you're interested in that. But we have Saturn with Cancer rising. We have Saturn in the 7th house cusp, and I'm sorry, not Saturn, Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. And Capricorn is, we could say, partially good for marriage, for long-term marriage, because of the traditional aspect, the fact that it wants to increase its status, maybe wants to be, it could be fairly materialistic. We have to look at the person's life to figure these things out. A lot of times, a lot of this traditional stuff really depends on the person and what their life looks like and what their needs are, etc. Because here we have a celebrity who was actually married 3 times and certainly does not need to be married to increase their income or their status. So we have that, and as I said, she was married 3 times. There is nothing in the 7th house, so we're going to look in the 7th house and see if there's any planets there, any aspects of the planets there, and there is nothing in the 7th house. Before I move on, I will say this about, with Capricorn in the 7th, certainly you could see someone who's dating someone older or married to someone older, and she was in 2 marriages, one with a man who was, I think it was Brad Pitt, was 10 or 11 or 12 years older than her, and then another one with Billy Bob Thornton who was 20 years older than her. So if we look at the rulers of the 7th and the 1st, we're going to have Saturn and the moon. Here's Saturn in Cancer and the moon in Aries in the 9th. So Saturn, just looking at Saturn in Cancer there, pretty similar sign to Capricorn. It is ruled by the moon, so we could see some feeling of wanting to be in this long-term marriage, but again, the moon is very changeable, and we also have Venus there, so without looking at anything else, so she does have Venus on the first house. Venus with Saturn, that's going to mitigate things and make things a little bit better, and assume that this person will have, at the very least, will be interested in long-term relationships. And then it's making a square. The Saturn is making a square to that first house ruler, the moon. The moon is in a masculine sign. It's with Mars there. And as I said, it is a square. So this is going to give more tension and more indication that she will, if she was in a marriage, that there will be separations. I mean, Jupiter is there, but Jupiter is changeable, and Jupiter likes to get around. And then, of course, combined with the moon, may be favorable for relationships, but not necessarily favorable for a long-term relationship, especially someone in her position in life. If we have this same chart, we had someone who's not as wealthy, not an actress, maybe just someone who just had a simple career that didn't make a lot of money. Maybe the marriages, maybe there would be one marriage and a separation, maybe 2 marriages, and something like that. But certainly very unlikely to be one long-term marriage. And we can look at other things to mitigate that as well. We can look at the person, talk to the person, and certainly see things like Venus on the rising there. This is going to be a very attractive person. And we can make judgments based on that as well. Something else, we can look at the aspects to this moon and see that it is also making a sextile to the sun in the 11th. So that's certainly going to make things more favorable for a long-term marriage, because the sun is, even though it's in Gemini, it's in the 11th house. It's a fixed sign, Aquarius, fixed house. It's a social house. Someone who often wants to be friends with people, would want to be friends with their lover, etc. And we can look at the chart as a whole as well. Just look at the natal chart, look at some of the other aspects, and get more indication. Like very quickly here, we can see that she has a south node. She has a south node in Gemini, and it's in the 11th. This is again a very changeable sign. This is where she's coming from. The sun in Gemini, someone who likes to get around, move around, a restless person. We can see that the Venus is squaring Uranus. They're 28 degrees exactly, and Uranus often brings changes. And making that square aspect to Venus, we can see very literally that Venus-Saturn conjunction changes to the marriage, Venus-Saturn. So thanks for watching, and that's Angelina Jolie and Cancer rising.